I never thought one day could change everything. One day when I chose not to save her. Back then, she was just a quiet girl, in my class always, the one who disappeared into the shadows, bullied, pushed down, ignored. I watched it all happen. Every cruel word, every shove, every tear she hid. But that day I didn't reach out. I convinced myself it wasn't my fight. Maybe if I stayed silent, nothing worse would happen. Maybe if I looked away, I could protect myself. But I was wrong. Because that silence broke more than it shattered something inside me. And then, in a twist I never saw coming, she came to me. The girl I didn't save became the only one who could save me. I thought I understood what pain was. I thought I had no scars left to hide. But she showed me I was wrong. This is the story of that day, the day I didn't save her, and the day she saved me instead. My name is Armand. At first glance, I was just another face in the crowd, a quiet, average guy in our high school. Not the star athlete, not the class clown. Just someone who preferred to stay in the background, safe and unnoticed. But deep down, I was watching. Always watching. There was one person who caught my attention from day one, Sara. She was unlike anyone else. Not because she was loud or popular. No, Sara was the exact opposite. She was quiet, soft-spoken, and had this fragile kind of beauty that made you want to protect her. But instead of protection, she got cruelty. The kind that leaves invisible bruises and cracks your spirit. I have known her since freshman year. We were in the same homeroom class, sitting 2 rows apart. She rarely spoke in class, and when she did, it was just a whisper. Everyone ignored her, but some of our classmates didn't stop there. They bullied her. Mocked her clothes, tripped her in the hallways, called her names. I never joined them, but I didn't stop it either. I was the silent witness. Afraid to get involved, afraid to stand out. Our worlds barely touched, but there was something about Sara that stayed with me like a quiet call in the distance. I could see her pain, even when she smiled. That smile was like a thin veil, fragile and trembling. She was so alone. Despite everything, she never complained. Not to me, not to anyone. She carried her hurt in silence, and I carried my guilt in silence. I remember once, during a cold winter morning, I saw her sitting alone on the school stairs, hugging her knees, shivering. I wanted to say something, anything, but my voice got stuck. I only nodded and walked away. That moment haunted me. My own world was messy, of course. My parents fought constantly, and I felt invisible at home too. School was my escape, but it was also a cage. I wasn't brave enough to break it open for either of us. Still, I noticed the small things about Sara, how she doodled flowers in her notebook, how she always had this book with her, a tattered copy of poetry that smelled like old paper and secrets. I was nobody to her, just a boy who watched from a distance. But later, when everything fell apart, it was her who came to me. Because sometimes, the people you ignore the most are the ones who quietly save you when you need it the most. It was just another day at school, or so I thought. The hallways were buzzing with the usual chatter, lockers slamming shut, footsteps echoing. But something felt off the moment I stepped in. I saw Sara again, cornered in the far end of the hallway by a group of boys. Their faces were twisted with cruel smirks, their voices low and sharp. She was shrinking back, eyes wide with fear. Usually, I would look away, pretend I didn't see. But that day something inside me froze. I stood rooted in place, torn between stepping forward and staying invisible. One of the boys shoved her against the lockers. The sound echoed in my ears like a slap. Sara's books scattered on the floor. I wanted to move, to pull her out. But my legs didn't obey. Instead, I watched her struggle, trying to keep her balance, her voice barely a whisper. Please stop. No one came to help. The crowd watched, some laughing, some just standing silent. I felt a hollow ache in my chest. Guilt? Fear? Shame? Then, a whisper of movement caught my eye. Sara's hand trembled as she reached into her backpack. Out came a folded piece of paper, her notebook. She grabbed it tightly and, with a sudden baldness, shoved it into the chest of the boy who pushed her hardest. "Take this," she said, her voice shaking but clear. The boy laughed. "What is this? Some stupid note?" But as he unfolded the paper, his face changed. His eyes flickered over the words, then hardened. Without warning, the group scattered, leaving Sara alone, trembling and clutching her scattered books. I wanted to rush to her, to say something, anything. But my throat was dry. I couldn't move. Later that day, I heard rumors swirling about Sara's note, something she'd written that exposed secrets no one wanted revealed, and about the boys who suddenly started acting differently around her. But the strangest part? Sara didn't come to me for help. Not yet. Instead, I found myself haunted by that moment, the moment I chose silence over courage. And then, the twist I never expected. A few days later, she found me. After that day, everything inside me was tangled a mess of guilt, fear, and confusion. Why hadn't I stepped in? Why had I stayed silent? Was I just a coward, or was there something worse about me? I kept replaying that hallway scene in my head like a broken record. Her trembling hands, the fear in her eyes, my frozen feet. I should have done something, I whispered to myself, pacing my room late at night. Why didn't I move? What if she needed me? But the truth was harsher. I didn't want to admit it, even to myself. I was scared. Scared of what might happen if I stood up. Scared of becoming the next target. My phone buzzed suddenly, dragging me from the spiral of thoughts. A message from Sara. "Meet me at the park after school. We need to talk." I stared at the screen, heart pounding. Was this a trap? Was she angry? Did she blame me? For days I debated what to do. Should I reply? Should I ignore it? Inside me, the fear battled with something else, a flicker of hope. Maybe she wasn't done with me. Maybe she wanted to say something. Finally, I texted back, "Okay, I'll be there." The afternoon sun was dipping low when I arrived at the park. The wind was cool, rustling leaves around my feet. I saw her sitting on a bench, shoulders hunched, eyes focused on the ground. I hesitated. "Hey," I said softly. She looked up. Her eyes were tired, but there was something in them, a mix of strength and sadness. "I know you watched that day," she said quietly. "I saw you. You didn't move." I swallowed the lump in my throat. "I'm sorry, Sara. I was scared. I should have helped you." She gave a small, bitter laugh. "It's not just about that day. It's about every day before it. Every time you stay silent." Her words stung, but they were true. "I know I didn't do enough," I admitted. "But I want to help now. I don't want to lose you." Sara looked away, biting her lip. "It's not that simple." We sat in silence for a moment, the park noises filling the space between us. Then she whispered, "There's more to the story, things I didn't tell anyone. Things I was afraid to say." My heart thudded. "Tell me, please." She hesitated, then nodded. As she began to open up, I felt the weight of her pain settle on my shoulders. Her silence wasn't just because of the bullies. It was something deeper, a secret she carried along. And for the first time, I realized that saving her wasn't just about standing up in the hallways. It was about standing beside her, no matter how dark the truth. But could I do that? Could I face whatever she was about to reveal? Or was I still running away? The next day after school, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. Sara had barely said much the day before, just hints, shadows of a secret I didn't yet understand. But her eyes told me everything. She was carrying a weight far heavier than I'd imagined. I decided to follow her. From a distance, I watched as she moved through the crowded streets with purpose, clutching that same tattered notebook close to her chest. She didn't notice me trailing behind. I kept to the shadows, my heart pounding harder with every step. She stopped in front of an old, run-down building, a place that looked nothing like a school or a safe haven. Hesitating only for a moment, she pushed the door open and slipped inside. I waited outside, the evening wind biting through my jacket. Minutes passed like hours. Then, Out she came again, but she wasn't alone. A man stepped beside her, a man I recognized instantly. It was Mr. Khan, our school's history teacher, the one everyone trusted. But the look on Sara's face told me something else. Fear, desperation, maybe even betrayal. I wanted to believe I was imagining things, that this was innocent. But when they whispered to each other, I caught one phrase that made my blood run cold. If anyone finds out, it's over. My mind raced. What could Sara possibly be hiding with the teacher? And why did she look like she was begging for help? The next day at school, I tried to act normal, but every glance Sara gave me was heavy with unspoken words. When I asked her directly about Mr. Khan, her face was drained of color. "I didn't want you to find out this way," she said softly. "But there's no hiding it anymore." Then she dropped a bomb that shattered everything I thought I knew about her and about myself. Mr. Khan had been the one bullying her all along. Not just in words, but with threats and control she couldn't escape. She wrote that notetha one I saw him read because it was a secret plea for help, a desperate attempt to expose him. And the boys? They weren't the worst of it. They were just a distraction from something darker, something much closer than anyone expected. I felt my world crumble. The guilt I'd carried was nothing compared to the nightmare Sara was living every day. I wanted to scream, to fight, to fix it all. But how? How could I protect her when the enemy was someone we trusted? I couldn't stay silent any longer. The weight of everything Sara's pain, the betrayal, my own guilt was crushing me. I had to confront Mr. Khan, no matter the cost. That evening, I waited outside the school after hours, heart pounding like a war drum. The halls were empty, the silence thick and heavy. I saw him emerge from his classroom calm, collected, as if nothing was wrong. "Mr. Khan," I called, as if nothing was wrong. "Mr. Khan," I called, voice shaking but steady. He turned, surprise flickering across his face. "Arman? What are you doing here?" "I know what you've been doing," I said, stepping closer, anger burning inside me. "You've been bullying Sara, threatening her, using your position to scare her into silence." His smile twisted, no longer warm or friendly. "You don't know what you're talking about. Don't lie to me," I said, holding up the note. Sara wrote the one he'd read, the one I'd seen him react to. She trusted me enough to tell the truth. I'm here to make sure she's safe. His eyes narrowed, cold and hard. "You think you're a hero? You're just a kid who watched and did nothing, and now you want to play savior?" I felt the sting of his words, but I refused to back down. Then, he stepped forward, voice low and dangerous. "If you say a word, I'll ruin you. Your reputation, your future, everything." For a moment, I hesitated. The fear crept back in, icy and suffocating. But then I remembered Sara, her quiet strength, her bravery in that hallway. She risked everything just by speaking up. I straightened, meeting his gaze with everything I had. "I'm not afraid of you." Just then, the door creaked open behind him. Sara appeared, eyes blazing with fierce determination. "You're not going to get away with this," she said, voice steady despite the tremble I saw beneath. Mr. Khan's face fell. For the first time, I saw a flicker of doubt. "You lied to me, Sara," he spat. "You think anyone will believe you?" "I don't care if they believe me or not," she said, stepping forward. "I'm done hiding." In that moment, everything shifted. The power he held over us cracked and fell away. We stood together, two broken souls, refusing to be silenced. After that night, everything changed. The school lodged an investigation. Mr. Khan was suspended, then fired. The whispers that once surrounded Sara turned into quiet respect, even support. For the first time, she wasn't invisible. But the scars remained on her, on me, on all of us who had stayed silent for too long. Sara and I didn't suddenly become best friends overnight. Healing isn't that simple. We had long, painful talks, sometimes filled with tears, sometimes with silence. But what surprised me the most was how much stronger she became. One afternoon, as we sat beneath the old oak tree in the park, Sara smiled a real smile, full of hope. Thank you, she said softly, for finally seeing me. I nodded, feeling the weight of all the things I hadn't said before. I'm sorry for not being there when you needed me. She reached out, squeezing my hand. We can't change the past, but we can choose who we want to be now. In the months that followed, I found a new purpose, not just to protect Sara, but to stand up for anyone who felt powerless. But sometimes, late at night, I still wonder, what if I hadn't followed her that day? What if the darkness had swallowed her whole? And more hauntingly, what if there's still more lurking beneath the surface, waiting to be uncovered? Because in this world, sometimes the biggest battles aren't the ones you see. They're the ones hidden behind smiles, whispered secrets, and the silence we choose to keep. As I walked away from the school that day, I realized something I never understood before. Sometimes, saving someone isn't about being a hero. It's about being brave enough to face the truth no matter how painful it is. And the truth? It's only just beginning.